Today's topic. How was your day, by the way? How's your Friday going?
Great so far. It's my son's 14th birthday, so we had a little celebration this morning and woke him up.
Nice.
That's a good
All
start
right.
to the day.
All right. Well, congratulations. 14's a good year.
That's the youngest person in our household. That's hard to believe, you know. You look back and it's like, whoa, I never thought I would have a 14-year-old, let alone my youngest to be 14. Quite a trip.
How quickly time passes, right? Crazy. Oh, well, let's get into today's topic because I don't know how much research you did on it, or I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I mean, today's topic is really making a shift or an adjustment to your business with today's current environment and kind of what's going on. So um, I'll let you get started and we'll bounce back and forth, and see what we come up with. And I'm interested to hear what you've got, what's going on in your mind.
I didn't do much research. I just sort of contemplated what the last 3 months have meant and what's gone on in the market, what's changed, what may have changed for good, what has changed and may go back in the future. So I'll just start off. And the first note I made is what's interesting about this market is it seems like it's really within the agents' ranks separated those who can from those who can't, you know? And by that, I mean, people were fearful right in the beginning, right? What was it, March 14th or 19th? Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that.
No worries.
They saw this new world. You know, the stay-at-home order came, and I was kind of remembering that today. I don't know if you remember that day, but I remember going to my wife and going, "Oh my God, they've done it. We have to stay at home." And it almost seems a little bit like the past right now, right?
Right.
We've kind of gotten through that, but at the time it was shocking. And I remember coming to the office and you and I every day in here with nobody here, and you and I trying to figure out what's going on, giving guidance to our agents. What can you do? How do we operate? And looking at the market and other agents and what's going on. And it was interesting because really what it came down to is very much changing the way we were working. And I guess the gist of it is it became this extra burden on everything that we do, right? It's no more like throw it in the MLS and do a few things and it's not a whole lot of work. I mean, it's, boy, posting things and having what is it? Personal safety devices, or I forget what they refer to it as, personal protection equipment, PPE, right? We have that at the house. And I remember hearing out in the field, agents like, "Oh my God, this is so burdensome. I have to do this." Yet only 3 months down the road, here we are. And the agents who have chosen to confront it and know this is their career and said, "We got to tackle what we got to tackle." Yeah, for the moment, it was burdensome on the psyche. And now it's just how we operate. But it separated out a lot of people who couldn't even fathom having to take on this extra work and responsibility in the industry. So I saw this big segment in our business, and it's for the good, I think, you know, really
Hmm.
separated the professionals from those who weren't.
I saw a lot of that as well, and it's funny because I reflect back. It has only been a few months. Actually, I don't. We're not even at 3 months yet. It's been a couple of months, and our biggest first objective was where do I find hand sanitizer and a mask?
That's right. I forgot about that. It's like a panic.
It's and the consumers were toilet paper and water. And to this day, I'm still a little bit confused why toilet paper was such a huge commodity. But um, I suppose it is what it is. But how quickly we've evolved over, and you're right. What people and what agents in our industry have made the shift and pivoted in order to just create the new normal. And we heard a lot of talk out there in the real estate world of I don't know what to do, or there's nothing we can do, or the market's going to do this or the market's going to do that. And we've for whatever reasons we've always had a shift in the market, whether it was the economy or whatever the case may have been, there's always been shifts in the market, and there will always continue to be shifts in the market. And what is always hold true is those that adjust, pivot, and move forward and work through it and find a solution are those who continue to thrive in this. So I'm excited about it, actually. Not to say that I'm excited about the part that we've had, it's devastating what's been going on and things like that. But from a real estate perspective, I'm excited for those that are working, because let's be honest, there's too many people in this industry that treat it like a hobby, amongst other things, and we do need a correction within our market and our industry in general, and this is actually helping us go in that direction. So
Good for the consumer, right? Because when you have a part-time realtor, first of all, they're in it for the buck. When you're part-time, you're there because times are easy. Because you think, oh, I can make some quick money and it's not too much of a hassle. Boy, as soon as it gets even a little bit difficult and you're out, what does that mean about what you're showing your client?
right.
And the fact that you're handling one of the biggest financial transactions of their life. And so to the consumer, those times are scary. And now when those people shift out of the business, I think is a huge benefit to the consumer. And those who are professionals and really can guide people and help them are the preponderance of the people who are in the industry. Yeah, so I think that's very positive also.
Right. So, one of the interesting things that I heard in that, because really what we're talking about today is what shifts can we make as agents in the industry and what should we be doing. And one of the things that we've seen a lot of, one of my favorite things within our industry is I have a liking for social media and the Facebook and the Instagrams, and I enjoy that part of the marketing and the branding and the things of that nature. But one of the things that I want to address, and for our listeners and for anybody who hears this, is truly having an understanding. This was one of the first notes that I wrote down, is when we did make the pivot, did everybody kind of understand the changes that you made in your business, really what they're there for? So I guess I wanted people to recognize that, yes, social media and online marketing and video and all of those things are important and have become even more important right now than ever within our industry. But what I think that a lot of people have failed to recognize is the difference between marketing and, for us, whether it be lead generation or really trying to sell something. And that a lot of people in our industry do not separate a couple of things. There's a difference between service in our industry, and there's a difference between sales in our industry, and a difference between marketing and branding and actually trying to sell something. And so much of what I'm seeing right now is marketing and branding. And it's funny because we've kind of taken a full circle. I'm seeing so much marketing and branding of the individuals. I need to do more of this. I need to do more of this in order to market myself and brand myself, which, I will say, yes, that's important. And there's a place for that in our business, but be careful, because one of the biggest setbacks in our business for us is that mentality of putting us before the consumer. Again, giving that analogy, it's no different than that property flyer that goes out. That is, if it's a full page flyer and 2/3 of it is the agent is number one and a big giant picture of them, and you've got a picture of the house with very little information about the house and the product that they're actually selling on that, it's that we want to make sure that we're separating the two and understanding that when you're going out there and marketing and branding yourself, that marketing and branding is one thing, selling somebody's property and servicing them is something completely different. And we want to make sure that we're doing that appropriately and in the correct proportion.
I think the best agent marketing is doing a great sales and service for your client, hands down, right?
Absolutely.
Over 80% of agents' business, as we hear from them, is their SOI. And the best way to maintain that is have a client for life through your service and sales.
Correct. So what else did you have on your list?
Well,
What else did we want to talk about today?
I think we've had a lot of things in this interest in this industry that we've used to a degree. Maybe we've taken for granted. Maybe we haven't felt were necessary. And this whole situation has really launched us into, hey, is this the future? And things that I'm referring to really is technology forcing us to go paperless, even to more of a degree, because we all use wind forms, we all use electronic signature programs, and we use social media and different things. But I would say we dipped our toe in a lot of these things and really didn't use them to the fullest extent that we could. And this current situation has really forced upon us, hey, what is this? How does this work? How can I get more efficient with this? How can I do more with it? How can I be more organized with it and not just dabbling in it? And I think we're going to see a lot more use of these tools, which have been around for a decade, right? A lot of these have been around for 10 years.
Let's talk Matterport.
Yeah, and everybody says, hey, these are important, but I think Matterport and Zoom and WinForms have all been sitting around going, okay, we're doing business, but when is this really going to be integrated into different industries? And I think they saw a huge shot of that with this situation.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we've talked about it so many times now. Matterport, I think, is a great example that they've been around, what, probably 7, 8 years now.
I'm going with a decade. I don't know,
Okay,
but I like the sound of a decade. It's a little more penetrating.
it may be. And I remember when that big old camera came out, and they said, what was it, like $6,000 or something for the camera, and plus the
Software.
the software and everything else that was included. And we looked at that and thinking, holy cow, that's a huge investment. And now it's I don't think that you can go to your client and if the client says, are you doing video, are you doing 3D tours, are you doing these things, no is not going to be the answer. That it's an absolute that these things have become part of our industry. Now, does it have to be Matterport 3D? No, there are other products out there that are similar, but if professional photography is pretty much a must in our industry now and has become the norm. Drones have become the norm in our industry, and I'm interested to see some of the changes that are going to occur. Our virtual open houses are going to become and stay. Our traditional open houses, is it going to be a combination of the two as we start to get back to the new normal, and once things start to open up, what are we going to see more of? How are these things going to start to play? And I think that that's important for agents to understand and reevaluate. Hey, at the beginning of this year, most people in this industry, we said, hey, we need to create a business plan, and this is what our business plan looks like. And our business plan, if we took it to any depth, is it's going to do these activities in order to create these results that we're looking to do. Well, guess what? Somebody threw a wrench in that whole situation. And my first question is, have you gone back and made an adjustment and really given some thought to that plan? Did we adjust? And this is by no means, and please don't misunderstand this, I am not by any means suggesting that you should have gone back and made an adjustment to your business plan of, well, my plan was to do this amount now, and I'm going to have to adjust it down because these things occurred. No, my point to everybody is the exact opposite of that, of, hey, your goal was what your goal was and your plan was what your plan was. This is the time to go back there and reevaluate and say, hey, what changes do I need to make in order to make sure I'm hitting that goal? It's not a reduce the goal to fit the circumstances that occurred. It is change the circumstances within in order to still accomplish that goal. So, I would encourage everybody to take a look at that right now. And hey, what was my plan? What's been working? What wasn't working? What changes did I have to make? And what changes am I going to have to make here in the next 6 months in order to still obtain what I wanted to obtain?
Yeah, I'd go back to your comment about having to have these services. So when people ask you, do you do virtual open house? Will you be presenting this in a Matterport format? Or, I mean, those are, not somebody who really knows what's going on in the industry, but you get something to that degree. I'm going to suggest that if you're not pushing that out and people don't know what you do, you may not even get that call. So think about that, how do you present yourself as in the now and doing these things so you get the call? I think that's the most important feature.
So how do we present ourselves in the now?
I mean, you talk about these things. You don't wait for someone to ask you about them. You present them. So I hope you've done these things. I hope agents have done these things and have examples and are using those for their marketing.
So I agree with you. And I think that, obviously action is the most important thing that should be taking place. But, if we're going back and again, if we're evaluating our situation, so we talked about social media. Should we be on social media now? I personally think yes. But to what degree should we be on social media? Well, social media is busy. So understand that if you're going to take these platforms on, that it's not a, hey, let me show up there today and let me show up there again 4 days from now and 4 days later and think that I'm going to have a positive effect, that it's going to affect my business with a positive ROI. That is that's like saying, hey, let me send out a postcard today and another postcard, you know next quarter and another one the next quarter, and expect to generate a steady business from that. That's just not realistic. So understanding first of all what the platform really is and what it's really going to take to show up. you know the way that we conduct business has definitely changed, but I don't think that the effort has changed. As a matter of fact, I think it's requiring more effort now than it did 10 years ago. So,
Right back to the beginning of this whole conversation, right? We're separating the cans from the can'ts and the wills from the won'ts.
right.
And so you're talking about social media and understanding of having a plan, and it's not something that you just dabble in. I think on top of that too is, you're going to fail. I mean, we all do. You're going to go out there and you're going to be like, wow, I thought I planned that out. Boy, it really fell on my face. Okay, let's regroup. Let's see what we're going to do. And I think an example of that is when we were going through virtual open houses and helping agents figure that out and helping conduct them. And it's not only about the platform, but it's who you're trying to reach and why and what is success. You don't have, a traditional open house, you've got people walking in and you're having conversations and maybe you're collecting information and you know what you're trying to get and how to measure it. Social media is totally different. That doesn't make it any less effective or less useful. It's just a different way of doing it. So I know with a lot of our agents when we spoke about it, like, man, I did my virtual open house and maybe I didn't get as many reactions as I was hoping to get or responses. And we had to reset that, say well, it was great, but that's not the best benefit out of what a virtual open house is.
Right.
You saw that, right?
Oh,
Yours was day 2 and 3 is when those things really blew up.
right. But and I love the fact that you brought up the word fail, and it's funny in your conversation and you're giving explanations. Really, the question that I wanted to ask you next is share some of the failures that we've had over the last 2 months, 2.5 months in this industry, of things that we tried to incorporate that didn't necessarily work. Was the thought process that came to my head, and I started thinking, like, here we are, you and I are on Zoom, we're pushing out to Facebook Live, we're doing this recording. And I remember the very first one of these that we tried to do in the first couple of weeks when we were doing these, we couldn't get the connections right. We couldn't make the microphones work. The cameras weren't working. I remember one episode where everything completely froze up, and we had two guests on there, and I think both of us actually got kicked off. I know I got kicked
Oh
off.
yeah.
The
Forgot
two
to record one of them.
exactly, and those were all failures in this, and we could have very easily, said, oh, doesn't work, let's stop. And you know, you're gonna have problems in the industry, whether it's technology or the problems and the failures occur in so many different ways. And really what it is the breakthroughs that come from pushing through those. So thank you for bringing up failures, because it brought back some fun memories for the last
Yeah,
couple of
I mean, if you're
months.
not failing, you're not trying, right?
Exactly.
And we've seen some great things from agents in our office, from some of the other great agents I know out there. They look at what can I do, what can I do, and we're explaining it to them. And I'm just seeing some really ingenious ways of going out there and continuing to be visible and active under the constraints that we're in. And I'm
Hmm.
sure all those agents tried version 1 and 2 and wanted to improve upon them or fell flat on their faces, but they ended up with version 3 and it was very effective. That's
Absolutely.
success right there.
And taking action, taking action, taking action. So I'm still enjoying the failures. I'm remembering one of the virtual tours and that we did with one of the agents in the office, and um, we practiced before, and we thought we had everything down, and it just didn't go. It didn't go perfect. And I remember when it was done, she was, "Oh, we got to turn that off, or we got to." There's no take backs. we were live, so it's out there now. And interesting, when we were in the moment, felt like such a, oh gosh, hopefully nobody sees this or anything like that. But if you actually look back at that video, there was so much positive that came from that. Even though there were so many things that went wrong within it, there was so much positive that came from it, that I can't even say we failed at it. The failures actually turned into a success. So
It's a little bit off topic, but on videos and things, I know when this whole thing began, I came into my office and I don't think anybody was here. I think it was early in the morning, and I just set my phone up and I just started recording. And I'm like, we've got to say something to the agents and what's going on and all that. And I ended up sending it out. I remember your response to me was, best video you ever did. I was like, really? I didn't know what I was going to say. I was sitting here right in this exact spot and just hit
yep,
play. And so to your point, it's like, you're going, just go.
that's
And
right.
what makes those effective, despite the blunders, is that people see the genuineness in them, and it's not scripted, and they see a real person, and that probably has the strongest effect.
Absolutely. Transparency has always been one of the keys. So, but so what else? What else is on your list?
One thing, and I've said this, those may be repetitious to some of you out there, but going through this, I begun to analogize it back to the Great Recession. And I remember coming out of the Great Recession after a year or two when things were just very difficult and the markets were in such turmoil and buyers were having difficulties and sellers were having difficulties. What we realized, or what I realized then, was particularly buyers didn't realize what an opportunity it was for them to buy. They either thought that something that happened to them financially, whether it be credit or their ability to have a down payment or just their ability to qualify for a loan, because remember, they got so locked up back then that not a whole lot of people could qualify for them. But over a year or two's time, everything really loosened up. There was great opportunity. And I would say for a solid year to 2 years, the message was go out there and tell people they can buy. Let's
Yep.
start consulting people. Let's get the word out there that, hey, the lenders are lending again. Yes, you can. The programming's opening up. And I just remember so vividly what a wall that was. And I thought, wow, that's terrible that there's just this miscommunication. It's keeping people from doing what they want to do. All right, let's think about the last 3 months. Sound familiar?
Yes, exactly.
Sellers are terrified to sell. I can't sell my house. And then, of course, we came around and said, well, why not? Let's draw it out of you. What are your objections? What are your concerns? Let's confront those. Buyers, I can't buy in this market. Well, why not? What's the problem? What do you see as the hurdles? And man, what was it? So we went down for 30, 45 days, and we've seen nothing but, I don't know what that looks like to you, but to me, this is straight up
Exactly.
activity in the market, because sellers realize we've got things in place. Yeah, you can sell. People don't even have to come in your house. If they do, we can help you with PPE, right? And buyers, have you seen the interest rates? Are they as good as they were? No, they're better.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's crazy. And I think to this day still, the consulting portion is something that is so important. And so that's one of the things I've seen in this market is this disconnect between what I want to do and my ability to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been matching up. And so it's our job to get out there by consulting and letting people know what's going on and making that happen and allowing people to recognize their dreams of home ownership.
So, and what causes that person to freeze and get into that frozen moment? We can label it with fear, we can label it with whatever we want to label it with, but the bottom line again is it's all about taking action and moving forward on something, and just having that faith that something is going to come of it, whether it's good or bad, something's going to come of it. It's just moving forward and
it's
pushing through.
It's uncertainty.
Exactly.
Not sure. So help make them certain. What? Loan problem? Well, here, let me tell you the reality, and let's see if that resolves your uncertainty with that issue, or whatever it might be, right? You got to help them. And in the end, you might find out, yeah, you know what? Now isn't the best time, but here's what you need to do. Let's get you in line, and we'll make that happen for you. But without action, which is you're saying, you never have those opportunities to consult people.
I remember that it was when this first happened. I remember so many people were jumping directly to the 2000 and basically the 2005, 6, 7, 8, that depression that we had, or recession that we had, and that they were jumping through that and trying to compare this to that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different situation. So it's funny. So many people had a relapse, I guess, for lack of a better word. But I think what's important to understand is, I mean, we were both in the industry back in 05, 06, 07, 08, and we're still here. And we made it through there. And yeah, we had to deal with some difficulties and things like that. But looking back at it, realistically, those that were doing the right things back then didn't really have that big of an adjustment in their business. There was an adjustment in the business, but some people actually ended up flourishing more. But those that had their systems in place and were just continuing to put their head down and work actually really didn't have that big of an adjustment to their income during that time. And I saw the same thing here in this last 2-month period. Those that had the systems in place and really were just pushing through, yeah, we had a little bit of a glitch going on. And in some cases, some people actually got busier. But for the most part, we're coming out of this, I guess I want to stress to everybody where we're currently at. We're seeing things start to come back to what we're going to continue to call the new normal, but realistically, not much has changed in the last 2 months. We are starting to open stores and starting to go back to having our new life of things being open, because we need to address the economy. We can't let the economy get to a certain level that would be like total devastation. The health concern is actually still there. The amount of people getting sick and those things, that is still occurring. And it's important to understand that this new shift that we're making is really to help the economy stay in place and not forget that, hey, there's still a health situation that's going on there that we want to be conscious of and is going to remain for, till we come up with a vaccine. This is going to be here for a while. So,
Yeah, that's you put that really well. That's a good point. It hasn't disappeared. As a matter of fact, we're going to see something down the line. I don't expect it to be what we've been through, but I hope people don't mentally go, "Oh, thank God we're over that. We're never going to see that again." Because guess what? This is going to be in the news for a while, and it may even spike to a degree. But we need to separate those things. There's health and there's financial survival, and
right.
there's got to be some happy medium in there. And I think we're finding it. So we're all acting differently out in public and being more considerate and knowing, hey, I need to do what I need to do, but I can protect myself and others while I do that. And so I think that's going to be the future here for a while, until who knows what, a vaccine or whatever else comes up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important. We can't ruin the economy, over the health scare. And that's not to make small, the devastation of the healthcare, but what about the devastation of the economy? We got to balance those two things, and that's important. I like your analogy. I don't know if it was an analogy, but you mentioned, yeah, back in 08, 09, and I remember distinctly agents going, short sales, no way. They put themselves out of business by saying that. And I know those who embraced it actually prospered. Was it a lot of work? Oh my God, so much more than today. It was an amazing amount of work. Remember the hold times with the banks?
Well,
We're talking hours on the phone. It was crazy. And that got a lot of people out of the business here. It's like, it's just not worth it. I remember those who embraced it, and man, they really did well.
yeah.
That's today, right? Is it too much work?
Let me fax over 200 documents.
And write 200 times in the upper right corner the account number. So,
right.
Wow. And now we've got some PPE, we've got some warnings, we've got some cleaning. There's a little bit of extra work, but got to do it, got to make it happen.
Absolutely, and great analogy on your part, because it's funny. I completely forgot about the short sales and how big of a pain in the butt those things were, and it wasn't just the banks; it was the homeowners, the difficulties between the homeowners not wanting to cooperate with the short sales to the, it was just a process. So, yeah, actually,
I've got one more note on here, and this is a recognition of, I was thinking, what's going on, what's happened, what have we learned? And one of those things is that there is a tremendous demand and desire. I don't know if it's cultural or what it is, but people want to be homeowners. And it's come out very strong with the demand we're seeing in the market. And with our help and with their desire, people are coming out of the woodwork to purchase homes, to be homeowners, and to have that pride. So I wanted to make sure everyone recognized that. I hope most people already have, but in case they haven't, people are out there in droves looking for the opportunity of the American dream to be a homeowner, despite, everything, the health upheavals we've had, the social upheavals. These are all things that need to be paid attention to and recognized. These are not things to be ignored. But at the same time, life goes on, and people love the American dream, and that's the dream of home ownership. And it shows in the numbers and the demand out there. People are in the market, so we need to be out there and help them answer that call.
Absolutely. So it sounds like we're about to wrap things up.
Oh no, I just wanted to make sure I got to that. I didn't know where we were, and so that was just my note list. So we just
okay. We've kind of covered my note list as well, because we seem to be on the same page on things. And really, I was going to ask the question. So if we're giving advice right now to an agent today, what are the one, maybe two things that you should be focusing on right now to hammer this market, to get into this market, to be successful in this market, however we want to, describe it? What is your advice to that agent?
What would I be doing now? I would be as visible as possible, work in my sphere of influence, because paper's kind of disappeared, right? I don't know. We don't know when it's coming back. We're not doing property flyers anymore, and face-to-face is more difficult. So whether it's getting dialed in on social media or making sure you're having that contact with your sphere of influence, you know, Nestor and I hear it every day. What's the most important part of your business? My sphere of influence. What do you do about that? Oh, that's a great plan.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, right? I mean, is that
Right.
what you want, or do you want to have a more predictable amount of business coming in? So really focusing on that now is more important than ever, because developing the new business, at least for right now, and who knows what the future holds, is not what it used to be. And making sure that you maintain that database and maybe grow it by asking for people that you're doing business with or know who they know, who's interested in buying or selling, and how you can help them. And that, if you're not doing that right now, you're in big trouble, because other people are. What did we used to have that sign out in the computer room that says, if you're not marketing to your prospects, other people are.
Somebody is. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody else is calling them.
And I
There's
would
no
say
doubt about that.
a
So,
second one I would say is just technology in general. Man, get polished up. Know what you're doing. Know what tools are important to, and know them like the back of your hand, because that has been ushered in, and I don't think it's going away. Are there some technologies that wanted to get in and maybe are going to fall to the wayside? Absolutely. Are there others that are already institutionalized and you use them every day? Absolutely. But there are others that have come in and that are necessary, and you need to know what you're doing and use them thoroughly for prospecting, for marketing, and for your business, your systems and things. You need these things to go forward. So those are what I would focus on.
nice. So very similar. So, with regard to technology, I think that right now, uh, my mentality is purge, 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 and get rid of. This is when you're looking at every single system and every single thing that you've got, and hey, what has not been working? What have I not been using? What am I spending that $20 a month on? That's on automatic renewal on my credit cards that I haven't looked at in 6 months, or whatever the case may be, and wiping that out. And then I am super focused and recommending your database. Your database is the number one thing right now. How do I stay in touch with my database? And no, that doesn't mean calling them every single day and saying, hey, who do you know that's going to buy or sell right now? But that does mean a systematic way of staying in touch with them and staying present and in front of them, so that they know what you do, so that when they do need something, that they think of you. And then, how do I add to my database? How am I lead generating and converting right now, and looking at my ROI and taking measurements on what is working and what's not working? So often we don't pay attention to that, and so many resources are going in a direction of stuff that doesn't has no results. And you want to know what your ROI is. And here's where I think you should be right now, agents and everybody out there. Assume that the saw is sharp. We've been sharpening our saw during this situation over the last few months. We've been talking about education. We've been talking about going in and streamlining your systems and making sure everything's in place, and mindset and all of those things. So the saw is sharp, but we have to use it. You got to go to the tree. We've got to cut the tree. Whatever the analogy is that you want to take is, hey, all the tools are there, all the equipment is here, everything is ready. It's worthless if we don't use any of it and we don't actually take action. So I'm all about figuring it out and taking action right now on what's going on, and measure it and adjust and do again. We've said it for years, figure it out, do it, adjust it, do it again, and repeat. It's basically over and over again. So here's where we're at. We just finished up a cycle. Evaluate, figure out what adjustments need to be made, and go out there and repeat again what worked and get rid of what didn't.
You need to remember that even the most effective lumberjack, the guy who goes home every night and sharpens his axe, he still runs into a knot in the tree.
Right.
He still runs into a difficulty. He gets that tree that just won't be felled, and you've got to get through that. Even though you've got those tools and you've got the practice, don't let these minor setbacks push you off of that bigger goal down the line. So just keep that in mind. You're all well situated now. Like Nestor said, your axes are sharpened, so you've got great opportunity. But that still doesn't mean, again, with action comes failure, no matter what. And it's just getting over that and continuing to have that conversion. You'll do it. It'll happen.
Absolutely. Any closing words?
Let's see. The buyers are out there, the market's happening. So I would say this is a great time to be a real estate agent. There's a lot of work to be done. First and foremost is your health and your safety. So don't think when we talk about getting out there and being active that our first thought isn't how do you take care of yourself and your clients. So that's the most important. But know there's a market going on out there and you need to get your piece of it. So stay active, stay on your plan. And if you don't have a plan or you need some direction, that's what we're here for.
Make a plan. Exactly. So anyway, I will end with that. I think it was well said and enjoyed today, enjoying getting back to our podcast and looking forward to it. We've got a couple of guest speakers that we're going to be bringing on here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be live every Friday at 11 o'clock. So people are, we hope that you'll join us again. And my call to action, hit the subscribe button because there's going to be one somewhere. I don't know where it is, but if you're watching this on YouTube in the future, we've got to get used to making sure we're asking and throwing that call to action in there. So I'm asking that you hit the subscribe button wherever it may be, above us, below us, wherever it is. So anyway, thank you guys very much and appreciate the opportunity. Travis, thank you.
Thanks, Nestor. Everybody have a great weekend and we'll see you next Friday.
You got it. Take care.